Hi, Arun. Thank you for your essays. Now let's have a look at the first essay about reading. It is well known that certain activities enhance skills and imagination. In my opinion, I agree that fun learning activities build in various cognitive and team building skills. This essay will discuss the relevant examples from various team sports and research from India to demonstrate and prove agreement. Okay, this is a nice introduction. I can see that you present the discussion, but it needs to be fixed a bit from the point of language and some of the cohesive devices. The first sentence is great. In my opinion, I agree. The thing is that if you use in my opinion, you shouldn't use I agree and vice versa, because it becomes excessive. You cannot agree in your opinion and disagree in someone else's opinion. I mean, conceptually you can. I mean, that's possible, but linguistically we don't say it like this. So you can either choose, in my opinion, and go on with another formulation. You can say, in my opinion, fun learning activities build various cognitive and team building skills, or you can say, I agree that, and that's it. So either one or the other. You don't need the preposition in here. And the essay will discuss relevant examples from various team sports. Okay, I don't think that these are examples from team sports. Your examples involve team sports, but I don't think that is an appropriate way of saying that. If your examples are based, let's say, on some official research, then you can say examples from this and that survey, then that would be appropriate. Research from India is okay. To demonstrate points and prove arguments, you don't really need to say agreement, because, again, this becomes redundant. Firstly, children enjoy learning differently compared to traditional methods like reading. Okay, the idea is great. The wording is somehow awkward. You can say that children enjoy learning using a variety of methods, and not only the traditional one like reading. This is because activities create added interest, great vocabulary in learning, and open activities is plural, so activities open the imagination, and you don't need the semicolon here. No, you might need a comma, leading to cognitive skill development and structured thought process. This is very good. For instance, recent studies by the Child and Healthcare Development in India indicates you don't need this comma here. You need the comma after after for instance, but not the part where the recent studies from where indicate that children participating in extracurricular activities leads to brighter. This is a bit awkward. You can make this a full verb and say children who participate in extracurricular activity are brighter and clever students and cleverer students as compared to those who refuse to play. Wait a second. Is this the children refuse to play after they were offered to play? Are you sure it's this? Or those who are not offered to play? Because, I have seen few children who would refuse to play in the classroom when they are given the option either read or play. They'd rather play. So be very careful. You are stating something which is, one, not really realistic, and two, it goes somewhere else in terms of argumentation. Therefore, very nice concluding sentence. Therefore, although reading develops skills and imagination, it is still traditional and orthodox. Okay, it is. So, what's your argument? You say that reading develops skills and imagination, though you haven't explained how. Because when you argue for something, you need to show that you understand how the counter argument works. That's why you have to, if you say this, although reading develops skills and imagination, you had to explain how it develops skills and imagination exactly in your body paragraph, and then contrast it to entertaining activities, which create added interest in learning and open the imagination. So you're contradicting yourself here, and then your argument is, well, although it's still useful, it's traditional and orthodox. Traditional and orthodox things are not bad. they are bad when they are harmful. So you haven't shown how there's detriment in this. So this is a bit contradictory and incomplete and overgeneralizing. You have to be more specific and explain and go beyond the, oh, it's bad because it's traditional. Secondly, activities also help to develop team building and confrontation skills. Very nice, very nice. This is due to the fact that you really need that here. You can't avoid it. That in a group activity, brainstorming happens on a specific task and generates more innovative ideas and puts brain. Okay, cancel this. Yes, you have and puts brain to think and makes the brain think differently and jointly on the same task achievement or in the process of achieving the same task. You probably mean this. Very nice explanation, very nice. But just make sure that the grammaticality doesn't suffer. For example, any team game, like this is very easy, any team game, like football, cricket, tennis, all perform one activity is to beat other team by synchronizing the thought process. I think this needs to be improved in terms of grammar. I could do it for you, but I don't know which form you would choose because there are many ways of saying this more grammatically. You could say, in any team game, like this or that, all the players perform one activity jointly or in joint effort in order to beat the other team by synchronizing their thought process and activities of each member jointly with the ultimate purpose to win. You see, this is my option of doing this. There are other options. It's up to you, but this sentence is not very grammatical. I'm going to highlight it. You heard how I corrected this. This is one variant. There are other variants as well. Consequently, reading has an inherent limit in terms of team building and confrontations or negotiation skills. I kind of vaguely understand your idea, but this is not a natural way to use language. You may say that reading is not as successful in terms of team building and confrontational skills or negotiation skills as sports, but you cannot say that it has an inherent limit. Beautiful words, but which are used imprecisely, completely imprecisely. Sorry about that. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly agree that interesting activities play a crucial role in team building and structured thought process. Okay, you have used structured thought process before, so how about saying that in other words? In future, it will become the primary evaluation criteria for students to show their progress based on activities undertaken rather than just academic achievements. Okay, we haven't discussed evaluation at all, so I don't think you should start a new topic in the conclusion. This is inappropriate. You speak about team building and structured thought process while okay, here you said that they build various cognitive and team building skills. It is the same. Okay, it is the same. Just make sure that you rephrase this beautiful expression, this term, in another way because you have a similar structure in here. Other than that, this is great. Just make sure that you don't introduce new topics in the conclusion. Now let's have a very quick look at the second essay. Role of school has changed from conventional education to entertainment and education. Why are we repeating ourselves? Let's make ourselves a point. And when I say we, I mean you. If you have one word, make yourself a point, especially if it's a very specific word, not like a preposition to. That's unavoidable. Let's make a point of not repeating the same word in the same sentence or in the same paragraph, more or less, especially when it is avoidable. Like in this case, it's completely avoidable. In my opinion, I agree that schools ought to promote great grammar, various non-conventional activities like sports, music, and cultural events. I wouldn't say they are non-conventional. Non-conventional activities would be yoga. That would be a non-conventional sporting activity because, everyone plays soccer or football at school. Everyone, I don't know, um, uh, paints or draws in class. Everyone learns music, but not everyone learns how to play let's say, the tambourine, and not the piano, right? So that would be non-conventional. Non-conventional steps away from the boundaries of the conventional. Like when people go completely, wow, I didn't expect that to be seen in school. Be very careful with the word conventional, traditional, and there's one more. So have a look at the difference. This essay will analyze both issues. Okay. Which both? Because here it's a bit incoherent. It's not clear which both issues. Because you said the role of school has changed from to, and then you say, in my opinion, I agree that schools have to promote this. And then you go, this essay will analyze both issues. Which both issues? Because you haven't mentioned both issues in your previous sentence. And this sentence cannot point as far as the previous one. So you really have to be more specific and simply say, this essay will analyze the purposes, the real purposes of school, and use examples from various research to demonstrate points and prove arguments. Awesome final sentence. Firstly, schools need to aid sports and cultural activities in child's career. This a carrier is either a thing to carry someone, like a child, or it's a person who carries. If you mean career, then the spelling is career. Okay, that's very close, but they're pronounced differently and they mean different things. And to aid means to help. You probably mean to add, as to put one more. This is because due to competition to outperform and focus of parents on studies, students hardly get time. Please don't use the verb get in academic essays. Try to find a more formal equivalent, have in this case, to perform physical or extracurricular activities. I think I understand what you mean, but not really. So this is because in the competition to outperform others, and the parents focus on their children's studies, students hardly have time to do any physical or extracurricular activities. How about that? The recent research by Child and Healthcare Development in India, and you had capitalized this in the previous essay, why wouldn't we do it here, was found that students spend on an average 4 hours per week on physical activity, which is much less, not lesser, less, much less than what? If you compare something, give the element of to which you compare that, and has caused various health-related issues due to sedentary lifestyle. Examples. Examples are always required to confirm what you argue for. Like, this is very important. This is really important, so you need an example. You can simply say such as obesity and, let's say, diabetes. Another point to consider is that there is a shift in the cultural values, both in the Western and Eastern societies, and people are gradually losing these values, which can be protected by schools promoting cultural events. This is one sentence for one idea, and the rest of the paragraph for another idea. I can see an imbalance. What about that? So if you have two important parts in your main argument, because you have a great argument, right? Sports and cultural activity. Don't give sports 3 sentences, or let's say 5 lines, and culture 2.5 lines. You really have to add explanation and perhaps an example too. And this is how you become convincing. But also mind the size of your essay. How long is your essay? Let me see. 307 words. Okay, appropriate. Secondly, the primary role of school persists in imparting education among children. You cannot say that the role persists. The primary role of school still is imparting education among children, to children. This is due to the fact that schools are looked upon in educating children to gain valuable knowledge for the future career, again, career, and building moral values like discipline and punctuality. Um, okay. I would even add the adverb highly looked upon. It's like people expect schools to do this. For instance, many parents interviewed by the National Institute of Child Welfare in India reported that parents look towards school as a medium to secure their child's future by providing best education in best schools, which they might not have had the opportunity to attend. Okay, so any conclusion? So this is okay. Many people do this. Where's the argument? I'm not convinced. Where's the example? I'm not sure where we're going. So, conclude, produce an idea. I'm not sure what you mean here. Yes, the schools do this. So what? To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly agree that schools ought to encourage extracurricular activities in their curriculum, in their programs, and then you avoid the word curriculum, to help in the overall development of children, is perfectly acceptable. And where did this come from? Your sentence ends here. The rest of this doesn't belong to this sentence. Sorry about that. So you can add a comma and say, and this is perfectly acceptable, though I don't know why you would say that, because it goes without saying. Don't be redundant or repetitive. In the future, the academic qualification, along with extracurricular activities, might play an important criterion when entering a university for higher studies, not for higher, but for post-secondary studies. How exactly? You haven't discussed this. Perhaps you could have added a perspective for the future here in the paragraph about extracurricular activities, because this sentence is based on nothing. It's simply, oh, in the future this will happen. When, how, why? Why does the sentence have to be here? So you have great essays. You're answering the topics appropriately. Just make sure that your ideas are always completely developed and wrapped up upon. That means you conclude on what you have written, because just writing ideas doesn't mean that you are building an argument. And make sure that you do not open a new discussion in your conclusion. Other than that, if you have very nice topical vocabulary, a nice range of grammar, just make sure that the sentence structure always makes sense, that it works to advantage, and makes sure that your ideas are always crystal clear and realistic, because sometimes you tend to step astray and go astray, and confusions happen. So anyway, great job. Keep up the great work. Looking forward to more of your essays.